Does that job ad sound too good to be true? On this episode of Driven Too Far, we're focused on shady marketing techniques that carriers use to lure you in. Hello, I'm Andrew Winkler, and this is Driven Too Far, the truth about trucking, a podcast that helps over-the-road truck drivers balance career and family. Welcome back to Driven Too Far. On this episode today, I want to talk about some marketing techniques that certain carriers use to try to lure you in. So today is part one of a three-part series where we're going to try to help you avoid making mistakes when looking for a new carrier. One of the most popular places for carriers to run driver ads, job postings, those types of things is social media. So if you've spent any time at all on social media, as you scroll through a lot of the posts and the things you follow, many times you'll be served up an ad, and it might be for a trucking job, things like that. And the reason you're getting those sponsored ads or paid ads is because at some point you probably searched for something trucking related or driver related. And you all know how the algorithms work and how that social media works. It's like that stuff's always listening to you, and then all of a sudden you start getting served all kinds of things around that topic or subject. The paid ads themselves or the sponsored ads, I don't get too concerned about those because what I do know about those is those things are very expensive. And I run some of those with our own company too, to push out the opportunities we have for drivers and lease operators and things like that. So I know they're expensive. I know that if you're doing those types of things, you're a legitimate company, you're genuinely out there looking for qualified professional drivers and doing so. The ones I get concerned about are more of the text-only type ads that I see out there. And a lot of times you see these in groups. Maybe you belong to a trucking group, a flatbed group, whatever that may be, a CDL group, something like that. One of the things you see sometimes is the text box ads that pop up, and there's no pictures, there's no graphics with it. It's just a text box, and somebody's in there typing $3,000 a week, new trucks, big miles. DM me if you're interested. So hit me up, something like that. And the interesting thing about those and why I think they're concerning is because they don't even tell you who the company is that sent it. It's somebody's name that has the Facebook account or whatever platform you're on. So you don't even know who you're replying to. And in fact, you don't even know that that's an actual trucking company. One of the things I got to think about a little bit is when they throw ads out there like that, how easy would it be to get somebody to respond and give that other person some very confidential information? So if you think that you're talking to somebody that's hiring for a driving position, and then all of a sudden they say, well, I need some things and I'm going to fill out your application for you as we go. Give me your full name, your address, your date of birth, and your social security number and your driver's license. All things you would fill out in a normal job application for a professional driver. But what if that person behind the scene wasn't actually hiring for driving jobs and you just gave all that critical information away? So you have to be extremely careful of what you're doing and who you're responding to on these social media platforms when it comes to driving jobs. There's a couple ad gimmicks, we'll call them gimmicks, that these people use. And this is what I want you to be cautious about or be careful about. The first one will say something like $3,000 to $4,000 per week. So let's think about that just for a minute. And let's think about the math. If they're advertising for a company driver position and they're willing to pay $3,000 to $4,000 a week times 52 weeks a year, that's $150,000 to $200,000 a year. Now, is that realistic for a company driving job? It's really not. So either they're blowing smoke at you with the numbers, or one of the other possibilities is their intent is to pay you on a 1099 as contract labor, where there's no benefits, no taxes, anything like that. So that's one of the flags you should look out for. I know the number and the dollar figure is going to grab your attention because that's what we're all chasing is more money for the hard work we do. But when it looks too good to be true and sounds too good to be true, it most likely is. So that's one of the gimmicks they use to catch your attention. One of the other ones is big miles, right? So even if they're going to pay you a cent per mile, sometimes they'll say, hey, you can run 3,000 to 4,000 miles a week. And that just equates to a bigger paycheck at the end. So while you can certainly do that, you can certainly run 3,000 miles a week, week after week. Start thinking about that 4,000 number. Does that sound realistic to you? While it's certainly possible to do that in a week, thinking about your hours of service and some of the restrictions you have, it's probably not possible to do that week after week after week. At least legally or without them fudging or doing something in the background. So again, if you're responding to companies that are throwing these big numbers out there that seem a little too high, a little too unrealistic, what kind of company are they after all? So I just think they're shady. So these are some of the things you got to really watch out for and think about before you start responding and giving them any kind of information. There's always the bait and switch on equipment. If they do happen to run an ad with a graphic or picture in it, sometimes, they got their newest truck, obviously, and we all do that, to be honest with you. We always put our best equipment out there for everyone to see, so you kind of have an understanding of what we're running, what our fleet looks like, things like that. But unfortunately, one of the things I think happens quite a bit is the whole idea that they got a brand new, shiny 2025 Peterbilt, Kenworth, whatever you're into on there, and it's attractive to you, so you respond to the ad. But by the time you make your way through the application process and into orientation, all of a sudden that new shiny truck that you thought you were getting is not available. So you got to be a little cautious with that. If you make contact with these companies and stuff, ask some questions about that. Like, how many of these new trucks do you have? And is it realistic for me to expect that I'm going to get a brand new truck if I come drive for you? There's a phrase that a lot of carriers use, including myself and our own fleet, but it's the phrase up to. So be careful with that a little bit and ask some questions. Make up to $3,000 a week or make up to $150,000 a year, whatever that is. Understand that in the marketing techniques that they're using, hopefully they're not right out just lying to you and throwing a number there that's not achievable. But what they probably are doing is giving you a best case scenario. Like, we do have drivers in the fleet that can achieve these dollar amounts or these miles or whatever they're trying to sell you. But just understand that's best case scenario. That's probably not the fleet average. And that's probably not what you're going to make coming out of the gate. So ask a lot of questions if they use the phrase up to. Be cautious with that one. So beyond the typical gimmicks, then there's the kind of ads I like to call desperation ads. So these are some of the terms and things you might watch out for when you're scrolling through ads and thinking about that job. It's when somebody's looking to hire somebody ASAP or I have 3 trucks to fill right now type stuff. So what they're doing is they're trying to create a sense of urgency. If they've put up some big numbers as far as the money you can make, they've got new equipment and they've put a limit on it saying, man, I only got 3 of these positions open. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get you to react fast. And if you react fast, a lot of time you don't think straight, you don't ask the right questions. So be cautious of that. It's just one of the techniques they use. The other thing that could mean is if they're always trying to hire drivers ASAP, it might mean they actually have a turnover issue, meaning they're constantly churning drivers in and out and they've always got openings for drivers. Then you should be asking yourself, well, why is that? What kind of company is this? Why are they always trying to hire more drivers and they're not very big, especially if they would happen to give up the idea that, we're not necessarily growing. But if they're always got their feelers out for more drivers, it's because they churn them so fast and then something's not right behind the scenes. Why are drivers leaving? Well, if you kind of follow the whole process, they're probably misleading you from the beginning. about the pay, about the miles, about the home time, about the equipment, all those things. And unfortunately, if drivers kind of fall for that stuff, by the time they get in the door through orientation, get a couple weeks under their belt, and the paychecks aren't what they thought or what they were promised, guess what? Drivers back out the door and the company's going back through the cycle again, trying to rehire again. So it's just a kind of a vicious cycle they get themselves into because they're not honest about what they're doing. The other desperation thing I think I see a lot of, I was just on a Facebook platform or a group the other day, and kind of this is what got me going on this idea about what to watch out for, but I kept seeing the same ad every day, like the same company, the same, whoever this person was posting it. Again, they didn't even identify themselves with a company name or anything like that. So you can't even really go check them out to see if they have a website or a Facebook page, Instagram page, anything like that. But it was the same ad every day. So what is that telling you? Are they that desperate? Are they trying to repost that ad so it's at the top of the feed all the time? What is it they're trying to do there? But again, it just feels like desperation, like they're just trying to get anybody with a CDL in the door as fast as they can and get them seated in that truck and moving. The one thing, not only what are they putting in the ad, but what are they not putting in the ad? And the one thing I kind of noticed there was, usually there's no mention of safety. What's their safety philosophy? What about training programs, orientation? They're leaving a lot out. And again, I think it's probably because most of that stuff doesn't exist or it's not on their radar. They don't care about those types of things. All they care about is trying to get drivers through the door, get them seated in the truck, and get that truck moving again. Probably because they're a smaller outfit. And, the smaller you are, the harder it is when you've got an empty truck compared to some of the mid to bigger fleets out there where you can absorb a few trucks parked against the fence once in a while. So how do you differentiate, the shady company versus the good company? Because again, we all use these platforms. We all use social media for driver recruiting. So what can you do? How do you know if you should respond to an ad or not respond to an ad? Well, the first thing you should do is you just got to go out and do some research, right? So hopefully you know the name of the company. You can go see if they've got a website, what that website looks like, get a feel for them. Bigger carriers, bigger companies, mid to big size companies, they're going to have a professional presence on their website. You're going to be able to tell, when they got their act together. Smaller companies, smaller carriers, sometimes the website may not exist. Maybe it's only a landing page, a one-page type thing. But almost all companies have some kind of social media presence where you could check them out. I think if you're researching and maybe you can't find a website, but you do find a social site, that's not necessarily a red flag. It could be an indication of a smaller company where they don't have a marketing strategy. They don't understand the purpose of a website. Maybe they haven't put the money. It's expensive to build a good website and then keep it up. The nice thing about social is we all have access to that. It's basically free of charge. So if they don't have a website, but they do have a social, might just be an indication of a smaller company, and that's okay. But the question is, what can you learn from their social media platforms? And we're talking, again, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, maybe X or Twitter, just depending on what they tend to use. But it should actually tell you a lot. Look for regular posts and activities. So if the company's really active with their posts and their social media platform, that's a good thing. It means they're putting some effort into it. They're trying to give you an inside view of what it's like to work for that company. And generally speaking, at least in our case, we post at least once a day, if not more. Some companies may only post 3 times a week, but if you jump on somewhere and they haven't posted anything since last April, maybe that's a concern. They're obviously not very active on it, and they don't understand the power of social media and how that can help their recruiting to paint that picture for you, what that company's really like. When you're looking at those sites and you're scrolling through their site and checking it out or their page, what you're really looking for is some insight. What would it be like to work for this company? What are they trying to show me? Our strategy in our case on our social sites is I want to tell a story. I want you to be able to see what it's like to interact with dispatch, with maintenance, with safety, with other drivers, just by looking at the pictures or the posts and stuff. So we spent a lot of time trying to show you what it's like behind the scenes, what it's like behind the curtain at our company. Lots of smiles, lots of energy going on, activities going on. So it's not just that we're in there, running our day-to-day trucking company, but man, there's a lot to celebrate. If you're running the company right, we got miles and awards and accolades and bonuses and all different kinds of things. We're out active in the community. How are we giving back as a company to our local communities? How do we interact with driver families? So we encourage all those things. And if we've got drivers that share pictures with us of their family, just came off the July 4th holiday, what'd you guys do? Did you have a good time? Did you go to the lake? Did you go see a fireworks show? Did you go camping? Whatever that looks like. And a lot of times we'll incorporate that stuff into our public Facebook page, because we want you as a potential driver for us down the road to be able to see that and get a feeling of what it would be like to work for chief carriers. So what about lack of activity? I think that tells you something too. So what is the lack of activity? Like I said, maybe they don't have their act together. Maybe they don't have anything to share. But probably a better assessment of that is that's not their focus. They don't care what it feels like or understand how powerful the marketing can be to give you an inside view of the company. So they're not focused on that. They're focused on filling those trucks, getting those trucks back out on the road, and making some money with them. I do have to mention this, and I probably mentioned it before, but there's a company out there that I kind of watch and I follow and stuff, and they're bigger than we are, but I can't get over how weak their social media presence is. A company that their size with their revenue should understand marketing and social media and all those things at a much higher level than they do. But when I go to their page and kind of look, all I see is they use it as a welcome page. So new hires in orientation, welcome this driver, welcome this driver, welcome to the team, welcome to the family type thing. And it's just driver after driver after driver. And what it makes me think is, first of all, I have no idea what it's like on the inside of the walls of that company. What would it be like to work for them? I don't know. I can't tell. But what it looks like to me is all they do is hire drivers. So my first thought is, what kind of turnover problem do these guys have? And oh my goodness, is this all they do is hire drivers? And I know they think they're probably doing it right by making that new person welcome to the company. Hey, look, your picture's on our social media site with a welcome tag to it. Give you a warm fuzzy, but beyond that, there's nothing else there. There's no follow-ups. There's nothing about the current drivers and the drivers that have been working there for a long time. So anyways, sometimes even the mid to bigger companies, you run into certain things like that. Or another one I see a lot of times is it seems like all they use it for is happy birthdays or anniversary type things, and just nothing really else. So, well, maybe it's working for them, but to me, they're certainly missing the opportunity to share a vision and paint a picture, I guess, of what it's like to work inside their company. Because I happen to know they're decent companies. They're missing the boat when it comes to marketing. So to kind of circle back and talk about that, we were talking about marketing techniques that carriers use and what I want you to watch out for. The big one is the text-only posts. Again, if that's all the effort they're putting into it, is they're throwing a few things out there, hey, big miles, new trucks, and big money, DM me if you're interested, and no mention of the carrier's name, or so anything you can check it out. Man, stay away from that stuff. That's not what you're looking for. There's something going on in that company where there's probably high turnover, and all they care about is filling that truck, or filling the truck with the next driver. They're probably not going to meet your expectations or live up to their promises. And within 90 days, you're going to be looking for a job again. So just avoid those companies to start with. And then I guess just if it looks and feels shady, it probably is. I'm not sure what kind of driver even responds to those things, other than I know they're appealing to your need and your urgency to probably make money. But Right back to what we said at the beginning of the podcast was if it feels and sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. And you just need to avoid those kind of companies. Stick with the companies you know, stick with the companies you can at least research and learn more about them before you engage with a recruiter. Thanks again for joining us on this episode of Driven Too Far. If you're looking for recruiting transparency, check us out at chiefcarriers.com.